Okay, so in this video here, we're going to be talking about polynomial long division, and in particular, when we are missing powers. Now, I have videos on polynomial long division as well as synthetic division, so I'll go ahead and link those below. Now, on all of these problems, we're going to have to use polynomial long division because my divisor is not going to be a linear binomial in both of these problems. So remember, if you want to use synthetic division, your divisor must be a linear binomial. And again, in both of these examples here, our divisor will not be linear and it will not be a binomial. So we have to do long division. So if you look at your dividend right here, I am missing powers. Notice here that I'm going from x to the third power, and then I go right to x and then my constant. So to make it easier to see here, this really has an exponent of 1. And my constant is really x to the 0 power. So x to the 0 power. We know that anything to the 0 power is 1, so it will return the constant being -1 here. But notice that I'm missing that exponent of 2. I go from 3, 1 to 0. I need 2. I need to go in order. So on this example here, on your dividend, you're going to have to put in 0x squared. Okay? If you don't, none of your terms will line up, and it's going to be a complete mess. Now, if you look at your divisor, you do not skip any powers here. I go from x to the second power to x to the first power, and then again, technically x to the 0 power. I'm good here. So we're going to go for it. We're going to go ahead and put our divisor on the outside. So we get 6x squared, and then plus 3x, and then minus 3. And then putting in our dividend, let's go ahead and do our division bar. And we're going to do 12x to the third power. Now again, you have to include that missing power, so plus 0x squared, and then I go to -9x, and then minus 1. Okay, so now we're ready to go. So we're going to go ahead and divide this out. Now remember, your goal when doing long division, you want to match this first term here, and then whatever happens after that, you don't really care about. We just want to match that first term. So to match that first term, I'm going to have to multiply by a 2 and also an x, so 2x. When I do that, I'll get 12x cubed. So I get 12x cubed. But remember, I also have to go to this term here and this term here. So doing the last two terms there, I'm going to do 2x times 3x. I get plus 6x squared. Now, you can see that if you did not include this missing power, these terms right here would not be lining up. Okay? So it's very important that you are including your missing powers. That way, all of your terms will line up and your problem becomes manageable, all right? So let's go ahead and go to the next term. I'm going to do 2x times a -3. I get -6x. And then from here, put it in parentheses, put a negative on the outside, and then you subtract. So your first term will always cancel out, assuming you matched it up, which I did here. So these will cancel out. And then I'm doing 0x squared minus 6x squared. That will give me -6x squared. And then -9x minus a -6x, those two negatives will make a positive. So I get -9x plus 6x, that will give me -3x. Okay, and then I have to bring down my -1 here. Okay, remember, you always want to have the same amount of terms that you have on your divisor. I have 1, 2, 3 terms. So down here, you want to have 3 terms, 1, 2, 3, and I do. So we're good. We're going to divide this one more time, and then we'll be done. So let's go ahead and do it one more time. So I have to match -6x squared here. That means I'm going to multiply by a -1. Okay, when I do that, I get -6x squared. And then doing my next term, I'll get -3x. And then doing my next term, I'll get a +3. So +3. Put it in parentheses, negative on the outside, and then you go for it. So again, this term will always cancel out, assuming you matched it up properly. And then this negative on the outside will make a positive, right? So it's a -3x plus 3x. These will also cancel out. And then you have a -1 minus 3. That will give you -4, okay? So from here, again, can you bring down any more terms in your dividend? You can't, so I'm done. That is my remainder. So to write your final answer, you're going to say the following. Let me go ahead and scroll down just a little bit. We're going to say here 2x minus 1. So I'll write it down here. 2x minus 1. And then you're going to put your remainder, which is -4. So I'm going to put plus a negative 4 all over, and you're going to put it over your divisor, which was right here, okay? So we may have to extend this a little bit. We're going to say 6x squared plus 3x, and then minus 3. Okay, there it is. Okay. All right, why don't we go ahead and try one more example? Okay, so here's our last example, and look at your dividend, and you can see that you're not skipping any powers. I go from 3, 2, 1, and again, technically x to the 0. So I'm good there. I don't have to put in any zeros for my dividend, but if you look at your divisor, I am skipping a power. I go from x squared, again, to technically x to the 0, meaning I have to include 0x here, which again is really to the first power. So keep that in mind. It applies to both the dividend and divisor when you're plugging in your missing powers. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. I'm going to put my divisor on the outside. I'm going to say x squared, and then plus 0x, that missing power, and then plus 3. Okay, then we're going to go ahead and put in our dividend. So doing that, we get 9x to the third power plus 11x squared plus 30x, and then plus 29. Okay, and now we're going to go for it. So again, I have to match this first term right here, meaning I'm going to multiply by 9x. So multiplying by 9x, I get the following. I get 9x cubed. Well, anything times 0 will be 0, so I get plus 0x squared. And then my last term here, I get plus 27x, put it in parentheses, and then subtract, right? So this will cancel, it always does. Now I'm doing 11x squared minus 0x squared, I get 11x squared. And then 30x minus a 27x, you get plus 3x, okay? Bring down your last term on your dividend right here, so plus 29. And again, I have 3 terms here. I have 3 terms here. So I can essentially divide it one more time, and then I'll be done. So let's go ahead and do that. I have to match 11x squared here. I'm going to multiply by 11, so plus 11. Doing that, I get 11x squared. Here I get plus 0x. Again, anything times 0 is 0. And then 11 times 3, I get plus 33. Again, put it in parentheses, negative on the outside, and then we go for it. All right, so let's go ahead and scroll down just a little bit. And this will cancel out right here. Then we get 3x minus a 0x. That will give us 3x. And then 29 minus 33, that would give us negative 4. So we get negative 4 here. So again, I have 2 terms right here. I don't have any more terms on my dividend to bring down. So I'm done. Because again, I need to have 3 terms in order to divide it again, because there are 3 terms on my divisor. So that's your confirmation that you're done, okay? That's going to be our remainder there, 3x minus 4. So writing our final answer, we're going to say the following. We're going to say 9x plus 11. And now here comes our remainder plus, and it's going to be 3x minus 4 all over our divisor. Now, we don't have to put in the missing power when we write our divisor. We can just write x squared plus 3. So x squared plus 3. Okay, and we're done. All right. So that is how you do polynomial long division when you're missing powers. Just remember, it applies to both the dividend and divisor. So if you're missing powers on the dividend, you have to go ahead and include those zeros. And the same will apply on the divisor. If you're missing any powers, make sure you include the zeros. Again, that will keep everything aligned and will allow for the completion of the problem without any issues. So that's going to do it for this video. I hope that you gained something from it. I hope that you learned something. If this video did in fact help you, if you could just go ahead and give it a thumbs up, that would be greatly appreciated. Also, make sure you subscribe. That way you get more math videos in the future, and I'll see you in the next one.